Hello, it's the 1st of October, so it's time to look at what I read in the second half of September. And after having a disappointing first half of September, the second half was a lot better. I read 8 books. I finished off reading the book along list, and I'm now reading NetGalley arcs. I seem to have collected a lot of arcs that I need to get through, so I'm sort of catching up with those now. So the first book I read was Oh William by Elizabeth Strout, and this is on the Booker shortlist. And it's a charming book. It's written in a very conversational style. It feels as though you're having a cup of coffee with her, and she's just chatting over the coffee table. It's the third in the Lucy Barton series, and we are with Lucy as she joins her ex-husband William on a journey to Maine, because he's discovered something about his family and wants to look more into this family secret. And the conversation that she is having with you over the coffee table, you learn more about the past. You learn a lot about her mother-in-law and the relationship she had with her mother-in-law, and it's a really charming book. Now the next one, again, this was on the book along list, and this was Trust by Hernan Diaz, and this, I really enjoy this one. It's almost a book in 4 parts, and it deals with, the background is the 1929 Wall Street crash, and it starts off with a novel. So the first half of the book, the first quarter of the book, is a novel in a novel, and it's a novel about this financier and his wife, who are almost reclusive, so there's a lot of speculation about them. And the second part of the book is a draft autobiography by a financier, when he talks about his wife. The third part of the book is a memoir from a young woman who was hired by this financier to write his biography. And the fourth part is a diary from this financier's wife. So the first part, the novel, is almost drawn from the lives that you see in parts 2, 3 and 4. Fascinating book. You get four very different voices, and as the title suggests, what it suggests to me, you're not quite sure which version to trust. Then I moved on to a thriller that was lent to me by a friend, and it was the second in the Bone Collector series. I read Rattle the previous month by Fiona Cummins, and this is The Collector by Fiona Cummins, and it carries on the story. And little Jakey has moved to the seaside with his family. Jakey has got Stoneman syndrome, which means his skeleton becomes deformed with age. And you've still got the collector who is wanting to add Jakey to his collection. And you've got the detective who is trying to stop them. And then you've got the little girl that they never found in the first book, still missing in this second book. And as a sequel, it keeps the pace. It really does keep the pace. And the Bone Collector is just as chilling as he was in Rattle. So that was another good one. Then I moved on to another sequel, and this was one that I was really looking forward to. Excuse me. It was Cursed by Marissa Meyer, and it follows on from Gilded that I read last year. And it's taking the story of Rumpelstiltskin. And the first book ended with such a cliffhanger, such a wow moment. I was desperate for the second book, and it doesn't disappoint at all. It is fantastic. You've still got Serilda and Gild. Serilda has been drawn into the Earl King's kingdom of demons and monsters. Guild is still there, and there's still this relationship, and the Earl King is still as devious and evil as ever, but he does have a slight, you do see a sort of romantic side this time in him. But smashing, an absolutely super book. And you've got all the magical elements and the horror, and super. It was a book I was waiting and waiting and waiting for, and it did not disappoint. Then I moved on to a NetGalley arc. Cursed was the NetGalley arc, and that comes out in November. Then I moved on to another NetGalley arc, and this comes out this month. It comes out on 6th of October. And it's a middle grade book, The Boy Lost in the Maze by Joseph Coehlo, who is Britain's children's laureate. And it's looking at the story of Theseus. It's taking the story of Theseus. It's a verse novel, and we have Theseus on his journey to find his father and the adventures he has. And then we have Theo, who is a teenager wanting to find his father. And it's the sort of mirroring of the two stories and the melding of language and verse form, and it is a really, really good book. I love the wordplay. I love the way that images from Theseus' story trickle into Theo's story. It's absolutely lovely. And then you also get the Minotaur, and you see a side of the Minotaur as well. You see him from toddler to young man trapped in the labyrinth. That was a really good read. The next one, another arc, and this was a YA again, comes out in January, and it's a thriller called This Book Kills by Ravena Guron, and it's set in an elite boarding school. So we've got the school setting, and our main girl Jess, she is a scholarship student, which means she feels very out of place amongst all these fabulously wealthy students, and she goes to an extracurricular club where she does sort of creative writing, and she writes this sort of thriller story. Then one of the popular boys is found murdered, and she finds that the way in which he was murdered is exactly the way that the murder was committed in her story. So she starts investigating to try and find out how and who got hold of her story to do this, and is she in danger. And you've got all the sort of people that you'd find in an elite boarding school. You've got the rich girl, you've got the geek, you've got the popular boys. They're all sort of stereotypical characters, but yes, very good. I enjoyed that. And I did guess who it was halfway through, but it didn't stop me enjoying it. The next one, another book that comes out in January, We All Want Impossible Things by Catherine Newman. And this is a novel about two friends, Ash and Edie. And they've been friends for about 40 years, ever since they were little. And now Edie is dying. She's got cancer and she's in a hospice. And we are in the last stages of her life. And you would expect it to be a sad book. But it isn't, because Ash is there as almost her carer. We've got other characters. Ash is a brilliant character. She's struggling to cope with the fact that she's losing her best friend and life. And there is humour here, there's love here, there's music here. And you do know that you are going to get to the scene where Edie dies. But it's beautifully done. And yes, you cry, but you laugh as well. It's a book that I expected to tear me apart, but it didn't, if that makes sense. So that comes out in January. And the final one I read was Janice Hallett's new one that's coming out in January. I loved The Appeal. I wasn't so keen on the Twyford Code, but this one is right up there again. And it's The Mysterious Case of the Alperton Angels. And we've got Amanda, who's a true crime writer. She is investigating this 18-year-old case where the Alperton Angels died in a this cult of the Alperton angels died in a sort of murder-suicide. Involved in this cult, we had 2 teenagers and a baby who disappeared, and she is now wanting to write from the point of view of the baby. She wants to find this baby who is now 18, and she wants to write the story of the angels from its perspective. She's got a rival who's also wanting to write the same story, someone she's worked with years ago, and you have got twists, you've got cover-ups, you've got secrets, and it's all done through email. You've got emails and texts and transcripts and extracts from novels and play scripts, and absolutely brilliant. It was a 5-star read for me. So those are my 8 books of the second half of September, with the 4 that I read in the first half of September, so it's 12 books for the month. I only had 2 5 stars, the Janice Hallett one and The Trees by Percival Everett, and my book of the month has got to go to The Trees with can't say his name, Percival Everett. That is my book of September, because I thought that was a fantastic book, and there was black humour there, but it also hit you right between the eyes to get his message across. So that was September. We are now into October, and I will see how many books I read this month. So happy reading. Take care.